Making headlines tonight, the Attorney General directs law enforcement to meet with education officials on school security issues. The IDB asked to help map the human genome of Barbadians in the face of rising chronic NCDs. Barbados to benefit from debt restructuring. And coming up in sports, Nicholas Pooran banned for ball tampering and will miss the Afghanistan T20 series.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC Newsnight, starting now.
I'm Shane Jones, leading the news at 7. Further developments tonight following last Friday's fatal stabbing of a 16-year-old schoolboy on the compound of Frederick Smith Secondary School. Attorney General Dale Marshall has issued a directive, and police personnel have met with officers of the Ministry of Education to discuss security matters. Mr. Marshall described the act as an absolute tragedy, telling Barbados now is not the time to pass blame. His comments came on the sidelines of the IDB Group Caribbean Civil Society meeting at the Hilton Hotel.
This is not a case where we can have a knee-jerk response. This is not a case where we can have an uninformed response. It requires the response and the joint action of the administrators of our schools, but it also requires significant input from our law enforcement arm. And I asked them to get together, to work with the Ministry of Education to try to bring a policing perspective into how we deal with these issues.
Mr. Marshall says Barbados is facing a serious social problem that is being reflected in the island's homicide toll,
which is at an unprecedented level, a level that cannot be acceptable to any Barbadian. But what we're seeing is a growing number of young people involved in the taking of human life. This is the youngest one that we have at this point in time. But earlier this year, we had an 18-year-old and a 19-year-old and a 20-year-old. And if we look at the statistics, we would see that the average age of the persons charged with perpetrating homicides is dropping lower and lower and lower. Now, this is not about us and them. This is not about the government isn't doing. This is about how we as a society have failed our young people.
Children who are accused of violent acts need to be suspended immediately. This was one of the many recommendations made by concerned teachers yesterday as the Barbados Secondary Teachers Union met at Solidarity House to chart the path forward in dealing with violence in schools. Teachers made the point that while investigations were ongoing, accused students often engaged in other violent acts before they received punishment. Meanwhile, BSTU President Marianne Redmond stressed that the role of the Edna Nichols Center for At-Risk Students needs to be redefined.
They like to go to Edna Nichols. They say it's like a hotel. And we have the serious situation whereby Edna Nichols, quote-unquote, expels some students that are sent to them insofar as they tell the schools, now they have the resources to deal with deviant children. The schools don't. But they tell the schools not to send back to them some of the most deviant children. So obviously that institution is not fulfilling its function.
Barbados has reached out to the Inter-American Development Bank for help with addressing the high prevalence of chronic non-communicable diseases on the island. General Manager of the IDB's Caribbean Country Department, Therese Turner-Jones, says Prime Minister Mia Amor-Motley has asked the bank to map the human genome of Barbadians. She says this has already been done in Estonia with positive results.
In Estonia now, they have the genome mapping of the bulk of its citizens so they can tell why certain diseases are happening in certain areas. This is an extremely powerful tool for, one, disease prevention as well as cure. So just to let you know, your Prime Minister has already made that request and we're following up.
Giving more awareness to the issue of prostate cancer in Barbados is being hailed as critical in the eyes of one local artist. So much so that she's joined a band of local artists in presenting an exhibition which will offer part of its proceeds to fight the dreaded disease. Keisha Carrington-Pinder, a graduate artist of the Barbados Community College, says the exhibition is one with a difference as it reflects many of the feelings and emotions expressed regarding cancer of the prostate.
Last year, it was just an idea, and along with a few other artists, and we talked about doing a show for a reason, just not a show with a purpose. And with that being said, I start to think about all the things that we're going through as a society in Barbados, all these non-communicable diseases and things that would bother not only the younger generation, middle age, but the older, and not only children, but parents and grandparents and extended families.